The house at the end of Greymore Street had always been empty. Its windows were thick with dust, the paint on its walls cracked and curling, and the front gate hung on one rusty hinge. Children whispered about it on the playground, daring each other to approach, but no one ever stayed long. When Elena Parker moved in, she ignored the stories. A young journalist, she sought isolation to finish her latest book. She unpacked boxes in silence, the house groaning and settling around her. But from the moment she turned the key in the lock, a low murmur seemed to follow her, a sound she could never quite place. At night, the whispers grew clearer. At first, they were soft, indistinguishable murmurs, like 1,000 tiny voices talking behind the walls. Elena pressed her ear to the wood, listening. "Help find us. Don't forget." The words echoed just long enough for her to catch them, then vanished. Determined not to be scared, Elena explored the house. Behind a broken panel in the attic, she found old photographs, families she didn't recognize, all staring blankly, their eyes hollow. Each photo seemed to hum faintly, like it carried a memory alive within it. And that's when the walls began speaking. I tried to ignore it at first, dismissing the whispers as tricks of my mind, but each night they grew louder, sharper. I began to notice them following me from room to room, murmuring just behind my ears. At times the voice would form words, naming events I had never witnessed, the fire, the children. Then came the scratches. Lines etched into the walls, appearing overnight. Messages in jagged letters. "She knows the truth is here. We are waiting." Panic mingled with curiosity. I spent days tracing the marks, trying to understand their origin. The house seemed alive, shifting subtly. Hallways lengthened. Doors that had never existed before appeared. The air grew colder in corners where the whispers were strongest. One evening I heard a child laughing in the kitchen. A tiny voice whispered, "Find us before it's too late." I froze. I had no children. No one else was in the house. And yet, something or someone was calling to me, pleading for acknowledgement. Determined, I began recording everything, every sound, every scratch, every whisper. My journal became a lifeline, a way to hold on to reality as the house seemed to expand beyond its physical dimensions. It was in the basement that I found the first secret. Behind a false wall, a narrow staircase descended into darkness. I hesitated, flashlight trembling in my hands, but the whispers pulled me forward. The room at the bottom was unlike any other in the house. Its walls were covered in faded writing, names, dates, and cryptic symbols etched deep into the wood. Old toys lay scattered across the floor. A cracked doll, a toy train, a rickety wooden horse. In the center, handprints glowed faintly, etched into the floorboards as if burned into memory. The voices swelled into a chorus, overlapping and urgent. "Trapped. Remember. Don't leave us. Help." I realized then that this house was not just old. It was alive. It had been storing memories, capturing the souls of those who had vanished over decades. Children who had disappeared, families lost, tragedies ignored. They were all here, their essence etched into the walls. I spent hours, no days, mapping the symbols, recording the names, piecing together fragments of lost lives. The house tested me relentlessly. Shadows flickered at the edges of my vision. Doors slammed. Cold fingers brushed my skin. Yet the whispers also guided me, showing me the stories I was meant to tell. Through my records, I discovered the town's dark secrets. Families had vanished quietly. Fires, accidents, disappearances, all brushed under the rug. The house had been their final resting place, preserving memories that the world refused to acknowledge, and the house demanded acknowledgement. Its whispers were not malevolent, but desperate. Each name, each story, was a plea for recognition. I began to feel their sorrow, their longing. Some nights I would wake up in a different room, unsure how I got there. Time in the house was distorted. Minutes stretched into hours, nights into days. I realized I had a choice. I could leave and preserve my sanity, or I could stay and give voice to the trapped souls. The house's whispers were no longer just sounds, they were a connection, a lifeline to those who had been erased from history. It was not an easy decision. My mind teetered on the edge of madness. Shadows moved independently of any light source. Objects shifted when I wasn't looking, and yet, I felt compelled. I could not abandon them. I began writing a book, chronicling every life trapped within the walls. Their names, faces, stories, tragedies. Each word, each page, was a lifeline. As I wrote the final chapter, the whispering slowed, then faded entirely. For the first time in decades, the house felt at rest. I stepped outside into the morning sun. Greymore Street was quiet, ordinary. The house looked as it had when I first arrived, empty and forgotten. But I knew the truth. It would never be silent again. I had given voice to what had been erased. Even as I walked away, I felt the faintest murmur, soft and insistent, echoing in my mind. "Thank you. But the walls will always remember." I realized some places never truly let you go. They live in memory, in whispers, in the shadows of the mind. And the house on Greymore Street would always wait for the next witness, the next voice willing to remember.